I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Music and part one of our interview with a guy I've been trying to get for a long time. We talked to John Lodge of the Moody Blues last year, this time around their chief songwriter, guitarist, and vocalist, Justin Hayward. In this one, we talk about Nights in White Satin, which featured a new Moody Blues. The original members included Denny Laine, who went on to, of course, record with Paul McCartney and Wings, bassist Clint Warwick, Mike Pinder on keyboards, flautist Ray Thomas, and drummer Graham Edge. For the most part, all the guys sang. That original incarnation came up with the song Go Now. It was a big hit. But Days of Future Past, and he'll explain a crazy story on how that album happened, Warwick and Laine were out, and in came John Lodge and our guest, Justin Hayward. In this one, we talk about that groundbreaking album, which many have called the first prog album of all time, Days of Future Past, and the big hit, Nights in White Satin. Justin Hayward on Rock History Music.
Going back to leaving your mark, you know what? Hundreds of years after you and I are gone and everyone else, I was looking at the numbers of Nights in White and Satin, and I was looking at that and I'm going, you don't know what you don't know when you're young, and you were quite young when you wrote that song. Was it really about satin sheets?
I came home from a gig one night and I knew that the other guys were wanting a song from me that we could rehearse up the next day over in a rehearsal studio in Barnes in West London. And I came home, sat on the bed, outside of the bed, and I just put the two verses of Nights in White Satin together, and it was a series of kind of random thoughts. Makes sense to me, John, but I'm not sure. I've spent most of my life trying to explain it, but. It's about a lot of things. Yeah, I was at the end of one big love affair and the beginning of another. But I took these two verses into the rehearsal room the next day, and I played it to everybody, and they were like, yeah. And then Mike Pinder, who got an instrument called the Mellotron, he said, "Play it again." So he'd only just got this Mellotron. He moved on from his Vox Continental organ, and he said, "Play it again," and I played it again. Nice in White Satin, and he went, da 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 da, and then everybody else was like, "Oh, I'm interested, man," kind of thing, and that's what I remember.
Did you know when you wrote it? I mean, some people, it goes as you can imagine. Some artists I talk to, they're all the classic rockers because that's my lane. Half of them say, yes, I knew, and the other half say no. Well, what did you know about that song? Did you know he had something?
I didn't think anybody would ever hear it, but then that goes for our whole album, the Days of Future Past album. I assumed that nobody else would ever hear it. Maybe a few nerds that were interested in stereo, because that was the purpose of it.
Yeah.
To be a stereo demonstration record. But it was the executive producer, Hugh Mendel, really, who worked at Decca, was one of the elderly gentlemen at Decca. They were pretty much all elderly gentlemen then. And he had a belief in it, and he really saw it through. And when it came out, it was a budget price album. So Nights was part of that. Though I don't think anybody expected much. But then people started to get interested in it. And thank goodness FM radio started, over in the old part of the world, and it sounded just right. It sounded beautiful on FM.
Everyone wants to leave their mark, and I hate to sound cliche, but I'm you've got a few years on me, but I'm 63 now, and I'm looking at what I can do with my life. We become more discerning as we get older, and I'm just more careful with things. I've got a YouTube channel that does incredibly well, but I was a lazy young broadcaster. So I like doing what I do. Why do you continue doing what you do? I mean, is it your purpose? You enjoy it, obviously.
Oh, well, I never had a proper job. So I love being with my crew. I love being with the other musicians, and I feel a duty to do it. And we can do these things. We can play these songs in a sound check just perfectly, and immaculately. But when the audience comes in, there's a magic that they bring to the room. It's a bit like you and I, when late at night, or we listen to some piece of music, and there's a kind of an atmosphere created in the room. That's what happens to me, John. I don't know whether it's the same for you, but I'm pretty sure it is. And so the audience brings some magic into that room that is quite incredible most of the time. I mean, there's the occasional heckler, but most of the time, I think we're all there for the same reason. So I'd never really want to give that up, really.
We'll have more from Justin Hayward in the next few days. There'll be links to his tour in the description of this video. If you want to help out the channel, there are links to our Patreon where you'll get early access to all our interviews and also all our long form interviews. And those outtakes on there and exclusive material that will never see the light of day unless you're a Patreon member. If you want to donate to the channel, there are links in the description as well. And now we have put a lot of work into our Instagram account. There'll be a link to it in the description at the very top. Also to our Facebook account for Rock History Music and Rock History Book. You can follow us on Twitter. But if you like what you see and hear, like our videos, share our videos, and of course, subscribe to the channel. And we're waiting for your comments as well. I'm John Beaudin, more from Justin Hayward in the next few days. This is Rock History Music.